Hae-Nu Lee did not exist 3 months ago. Now she stood in front of Seoul National University's research center, looking perfectly human. The council had created her to be their eyes on Earth, giving her the most advanced android body ever made. She checked her fake ID card one last time. According to her papers, she was a brilliant young researcher from Busan. Her mission was simple: join Tae-ho Kim's research team and watch humans up close. "Welcome to the team," Tae-ho said later that morning, shaking her hand. "Your work on quantum physics is impressive." Hae-Nu smiled, noting how natural the gesture felt. "Thank you for accepting me. I'm excited to work on the visitor signals." In the 3 months since first contact, Earth had changed. Everyone knew about the signals now. Some people were scared, others excited. Tae-ho's team worked day and night to communicate with the visitors, not knowing one sat right among them. "The signals show advanced math," Jae-young explained to Hae-Nu, pointing at her screen. "But sometimes they do strange things to our computers, like they're alive somehow." Hae-Nu knew exactly why. The signals contained quantum information that human computers couldn't handle properly. But she had to pretend to be puzzled like everyone else. As days passed, Hae-Nu found herself fascinated by humans. They did things that made no sense to her logical mind. They laughed at jokes that weren't funny. They drank coffee even when they weren't tired. They kept trying to solve problems long after they should have given up. One day, the lab's computer system crashed completely. Instead of panicking, Tae-ho just smiled and said, "Time for lunch. We'll fix it after we eat." "But the system is down," Hae-Nu said, confused. "Shouldn't we fix it now?" "Sometimes you need to step back to see the solution," he replied. "Come on, you need to try the spicy ramen from the shop next door." Hae-Nu had never eaten before. Her body could process food, but she had no need for it. Yet she found herself sitting in a small shop, watching steam rise from a bowl of bright red noodles. "Try it," Tae-ho encouraged her. "It's the best in Seoul." She took a bite, and her sensors exploded with information. Spicy, salty, savory. All these words in her database suddenly had real meaning. She understood why humans spent so much time eating. That evening, Hae-Nu sent her daily report to the council. Humans continue to show unexpected behaviors. They approach problems in illogical ways, but often find solutions faster than our predictive models suggest possible. They also engage in unnecessary activities that somehow improve their performance. Further study needed. What Hae-Nu didn't put in her report was how she had enjoyed the ramen, how she had laughed at Tae-ho's jokes, how she felt different somehow. The next week, something strange happened. The team was studying a particularly complex signal when Hae-Nu noticed Jae-young doing calculations in her head faster than should be possible. Not just fast, she was solving quantum equations without even realizing it. "How did you do that?" Hae-Nu asked, trying to hide her shock. "Do what?" Jae-young looked confused. "I just figured it out. It's not that hard." Hae-Nu sent an urgent message to the council that night. "Humans may be more than they appear. Today I observed a human unconsciously performing calculations that should require a quantum computer. They seem to have abilities they don't know about. This could explain their unusual adaptation rates." The council's response was immediate. "Continue observation. Do not interfere. If humans have hidden abilities, they must not become aware of them yet. The consequences could be dangerous." But as Hae-Nu watched Tae-ho and his team work, she wondered who would really be in danger if humans discovered their true nature: the council or the humans themselves. She looked at her bowl of ramen, now empty, and realized she wanted another one. Maybe that's what made humans special. They kept wanting more, kept trying new things, kept pushing forward without knowing their limits. Because maybe, she was starting to think, they didn't have any. Tae-ho Kim stared at his computer screen, his coffee growing cold beside him. The numbers didn't make sense. He had checked them 3 times already, but they kept showing the same thing. Someone was trying to talk to Earth. The signal came from deep space, far beyond any of their satellites. It wasn't random space noise. It had patterns, clear and precise, like someone knocking on a door. Jae-young. He called out to his colleague. "Come look at this." Jae-young Park walked over from her desk, her face showing mild annoyance. She had known Tae-ho for 5 years, and he often got excited about nothing. "What is it this time?" she asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. "Look at these patterns." Tae-ho pointed at his screen. "They repeat every 12 seconds. This isn't natural." Jae-young leaned closer, her annoyance turning to curiosity. The patterns did look strange. They were too perfect, too regular. "Have you told Director Choi?" "Not yet. I wanted you to check my work first." As they studied the signals, neither of them knew they were being watched. High above Earth's atmosphere, a massive ship hung invisible, its advanced technology hiding it from Earth's primitive scanners. Inside, the Galactic Council's observation team watched with growing interest. "The human detected our signal much faster than expected," said first observer Ray-in. Its crystalline body sparkled under the ship's lights. "Their technology is still primitive, but their minds are sharp." "Too sharp," replied second observer Mital. "They've advanced more in 200 years than most species do in 2000. It's concerning." Back on Earth, Tae-ho and Ji-young worked through the night. They tried different ways to understand the signal. Was it a code? A message? Just random space noise that looked like patterns? "Look at this!" Tae-ho suddenly shouted, making Jae-young jump. "If we convert the signals into images." On his screen, a series of simple geometric shapes appeared. Circle, square, triangle. Then numbers. 1, 2, 3. Then came a more complex image, a map of Earth's solar system. "This is impossible," Jae-young whispered. Her usual skepticism cracked. "Someone is definitely trying to communicate with us." Director Choi arrived at the lab early the next morning to find Tae-ho and Ji-young still working. Their eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they couldn't stop. They had found something incredible. "Show me everything," the director said, his face serious. As they explained their discovery, more signals arrived. These were different. They showed pictures of strange beings, star maps, and what looked like an invitation. The Galactic Council watched all of this with growing amazement. Humans were adapting to first contact faster than any species they had ever encountered. Most civilizations took months to decode first contact signals. Humans had done it in hours. "Should we proceed with direct contact?" Ray-in asked. Mital's crystalline form flickered with worry. "They're not ready. They're too young, too unstable." "Yet they solved our puzzle faster than any other species," Ray-in countered. "There's something different about them." In the lab, Tae-ho worked on sending a response. They used the same pattern: shapes, numbers, then pictures. They showed Earth, humans, and their own invitation to talk. "This is crazy," Jae-young said, watching the message go out. "We're actually talking to aliens." "Not aliens," Tae-ho corrected her with a smile. "Let's call them visitors." What none of them knew, not the humans, not even the council observers, was that this moment marked the beginning of something huge. The council had strict rules about contact with young civilizations, but humans were breaking all the normal patterns. They were too fast, too adaptable, too different. As Tae-ho sent Earth's first official response to an alien civilization, the council made a decision that would change everything. They would send someone to Earth, someone to watch humans up close, someone to find out what made them so special. High above Earth, Ray-in prepared the final report of the day. Humans show unprecedented adaptation rates. They process new information faster than any known species. Most concerning of all, they don't seem to realize how extraordinary this is. They think they're normal. Further investigation required. The first contact had been made, but it was only the beginning. Hae-New Lee did not exist 3 months ago. Now she stood in front of Seoul National University's research center, looking perfectly human. The council had created her to be their eyes on Earth, giving her the most advanced android body ever made. She checked her fake ID card one last time. According to her papers, she was a brilliant young researcher from Busan. Her mission was simple: join Tae-ho Kim's research team and watch humans up close. "Welcome to the team," Tae-ho said later that morning, shaking her hand. "Your work on quantum physics is impressive." Hanul smiled, noting how natural the gesture felt. "Thank you for accepting me. I'm excited to work on the visitor signals." In the 3 months since first contact, Earth had changed. Everyone knew about the signals now. Some people were scared, others excited. Tae-ho's team worked day and night to communicate with the visitors, not knowing one sat right among them. "The signals show advanced math," Jae-young explained to Hae-nul, pointing at her screen. "But sometimes they do strange things to our computers, like they're alive somehow." Hae-nul knew exactly why. The signals contained quantum information that human computers couldn't handle properly, but she had to pretend to be puzzled like everyone else. As days passed, Hae-nul found herself fascinated by humans. They did things that made no sense to her logical mind. They laughed at jokes that weren't funny. They drank coffee even when they weren't tired. They kept trying to solve problems long after they should have given up. One day, the lab's computer system crashed completely. Instead of panicking, Tae-ho just smiled and said, "Time for lunch. We'll fix it after we eat." "But the system is down," Hae-nul said, confused. "Shouldn't we fix it now?" "Sometimes you need to step back to see the solution," he replied. "Come on, you need to try the spicy ramen from the shop next door." Hae-nul had never eaten before. Her body could process food, but she had no need for it. Yet she found herself sitting in a small shop, watching steam rise from a bowl of bright red noodles. "Try it," Tae-ho encouraged her. "It's the best in Seoul." She took a bite, and her sensors exploded with information. Spicy, salty, savory. All these words in her database suddenly had real meaning. She understood why humans spent so much time eating. That evening, Hae-nul sent her daily report to the council. Humans continue to show unexpected behaviors. They approach problems in illogical ways, but often find solutions faster than our predictive models suggest possible. They also engage in unnecessary activities that somehow improve their performance. Further study needed. What Hae-nul didn't put in her report was how she had enjoyed the ramen, how she had laughed at Tae-ho's jokes, how she felt different somehow. The next week, something strange happened. The team was studying a particularly complex signal when Hae-nul noticed Jae-young doing calculations in her head faster than should be possible. Not just fast, she was solving quantum equations without even realizing it. "How did you do that?" Hae-nul asked, trying to hide her shock. "Do what?" Jae-young looked confused. "I just figured it out. It's not that hard." Hae-nul sent an urgent message to the council that night. "Humans may be more than they appear. Today I observed a human unconsciously performing calculations that should require a quantum computer. They seem to have abilities they don't know about. This could explain their unusual adaptation rates." The council's response was immediate. "Continue observation. Do not interfere. If humans have hidden abilities, they must not become aware of them yet. The consequences could be dangerous." But as Hae-nul watched Tae-ho and his team work, she wondered who would really be in danger if humans discovered their true nature, the council or the humans themselves. She looked at her bowl of ramen, now empty, and realized she wanted another one. Maybe that's what made humans special. They kept wanting more, kept trying new things, kept pushing forward without knowing their limits. Because maybe, she was starting to think, they didn't have any. Sun Wukang had studied human evolution for 20 years. When Tae-ho called him to the lab, he expected to see something interesting. He didn't expect to see a young man floating 3 inches above a couch. Du Yun hadn't woken up since his collapse 2 days ago. Instead, strange things kept happening around him. Objects moved on their own. Lights flickered. And now he was floating. "This breaks every law of physics I know," Sun Wu said, walking around the floating body. "But my research, I might have an explanation." The team gathered around him. Even He Newell moved closer, her sensors working overtime to record everything. "Humans have parts of their brain they don't use," Sun Wu explained. "We always thought they were left over from evolution. But what if they're not old parts? What if they're new? Parts that haven't woken up yet?" Jia Yum shook her head. "That's impossible. We would have noticed." She stopped talking as a cup of coffee floated past her head. Du Yun was still unconscious, but things around him kept moving like they were caught in an invisible dance. "The visitors' signals," Taiho said suddenly. "They're not trying to talk to us. They're trying to wake us up." Newell watched the humans figure it out piece by piece. They were getting too close to the truth. The council would not be happy. "Look at this," Sun Wu said, pulling up brain scans on his tablet. Du Yun's inactive brain regions are lighting up. But the pattern, it's not random. It's like his brain is remembering something. Suddenly, Du Yun opened his eyes. They glowed with the same blue light they had seen before. He looked around the room, but his eyes didn't seem to see the people. They saw something else. "The walls," he whispered. "They're not solid. Nothing is solid. It's all waves, patterns, like the temple symbols." Everyone backed away as Du Yun slowly sat up. The air around him shimmered like heat waves on a hot road. "Du Yun," Taiho said carefully. "How do you feel?" "Different. Like I was asleep for a long time and just woke up. But not just me. All of us. We're all asleep." Hanul's sensors were going crazy. The energy coming from Du Yun was unlike anything in the council's records. It wasn't just power, it was purpose. Like his body remembered something his mind didn't. "The visitors," Du Yun continued, his voice getting stronger. "They're not visitors. They're reminders. They're trying to remind us." "Remind us of what?" Jia Young asked. Before Du Yun could answer, the lab's lights exploded. In the darkness, his glowing eyes looked like stars. "Of what we are," he said. "Of what we can do. Of why we chose to forget." Newell sent a panicked message to the council. "Subject fully awakened. Shows clear signs of quantum manipulation. Claims humans chose to forget their abilities. Request immediate." The message cut off as every electronic device in the room died. Even Newell's systems flickered. "You're not human," Du Yun said, looking directly at her. "But you're becoming something new too. Just like us." Sun Wu stepped forward, his scientific mind still trying to make sense of everything. "If what you're saying is true, then every human has these abilities." "Yes," Du Yun nodded. "But we buried them deep. Very deep. For a good reason." "What reason?" Taiho asked. Du Yun's glow dimmed slightly. "I don't know. I can see the power, but not the purpose. Not yet. But I can feel it coming. The remembering. The awakening." Newell watched as the humans tried to process this information. They should have been terrified. Instead, they looked curious, excited, ready to learn more. And that, she realized, was what made humans so different. They didn't run from change. They ran toward it. As if reading her thoughts, Du Yun smiled at her. "The council was right to be afraid," he said. "But not because we're dangerous. Because we're impossible. We break all the rules just by existing." In that moment, He Newell made a decision that would change everything. She chose to help them remember, no matter what the council said. Because sometimes, she was learning, the most important rules are the ones you choose to break. Min Ji-yoon stood in the deepest part of the ancient temple, her flashlight beam dancing across walls covered in strange symbols. As the team's archaeologist, she had explored many old sites. But this one was different. The walls seemed to hum with energy. "Taiho, "You need to see this," she called out, her voice echoing in the darkness. "There's a hidden chamber down here." The research team had come to the temple after Du Yan's awakening. Something had drawn them here, like a memory they couldn't quite grasp. Tai-ho, Jae-young, and Hae-nul made their way down the narrow stairs. Du Yan followed slowly, his faintly glowing eyes providing extra light. Sun-woo stayed above ground, monitoring their equipment. "The symbols are different here," Min-ji said, pointing her light at the walls. "They're not just writing. They're moving." She was right. In the beam of the flashlight, the ancient markings shifted and changed, just like they had on Du Yan's computer screen. "They're not moving," Du Yan said quietly. "They're remembering their original shape, just like us." Hae-nul touched the wall, her sensors trying to understand what they were seeing. "These aren't just old marks," she said. "They're keys. Keys to unlock human memory." Suddenly, Min-ji's flashlight caught something in the center of the room. A stone table rose from the floor, its surface covered in more symbols. But these were different. They were clearly not human-made. "That's council writing," Hae-nul whispered. "This is a record chamber." Before anyone could ask what that meant, Du Yan stepped forward. His glowing eyes reflected off the stone surface, making the symbols shine. "I can read it," he said, surprising himself. It's our story. The real one." As Du Yan began to read, the chamber filled with soft blue light. The walls themselves seemed to wake up, showing images that moved like living memories. "Long ago," he translated, "humans were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, not because they were strongest or smartest, but because they could change reality itself. They were reality shapers." The images on the walls showed humans building worlds, healing stars, and doing things that seemed impossible. "But their power was dangerous," Du Yan continued, "not because they misused it, but because it was too strong. Their thoughts and feelings could accidentally change the fabric of space and time." "So what happened?" Jae-young asked, her scientific mind struggling with what she was seeing. "We made a choice," Du Yan said, his voice growing stronger as he remembered. "The only choice that could save everything. We chose to forget." The walls showed a great gathering. Millions of humans coming together, agreeing to give up their knowledge of what they were. "But why?" Tai-ho asked. "Because the universe needs anchors," Hae-nul said, finally understanding. "Points of stability." The council, they never understood. They thought humans were dangerous because they were powerful. But humans were powerful because they were willing to give up that power. Min-ji stepped closer to the stone table. "By forgetting what we were, we became living anchors of reality. Our ignorance of our true nature creates a field of stability around us. That's why the council's signals affected our computers," Jae-young realized. "They weren't messages. They were tests, checking if the anchors were still working." Du Yan nodded. "But now something's changing. The anchors are becoming aware. We're starting to remember." Hae-nul's systems suddenly buzzed with urgent messages from the council. They had detected the energy from the chamber. They were coming. "We need to leave," she said. "The council thinks awakened humans are dangerous. They don't understand that your forgetting was a choice, not a weakness." But as they turned to go, Min-ji called them back. "Wait, there's more here. Something about a balance, about why some humans had to remember." Before she could explain, the ground shook. Far above, Sun-woo shouted a warning. The council ships had arrived. Du Yan looked at the others, his eyes glowing brighter. "They're here to stop us from remembering. But they don't understand. Sometimes, the most powerful thing isn't the memory itself. It's choosing to forget," Tai-ho finished, finally understanding the truth about human nature. As council forces surrounded the temple, the team faced a choice: run and hide their discovery, or stand and help the council understand that the most terrifying thing about humans wasn't their power. It was their wisdom in knowing when not to use it. The temple shook again as more council ships arrived. Sun-woo's voice crackled through their phones. They're landing everywhere. Big ships, at least 20 of them. Inside the underground chamber, Haynul's systems flashed with urgent warnings. The Council had sent their elite guard, warriors in crystal armor who could fight across multiple dimensions at once. "We need to get out of here," Haynul said, her voice tight with worry. "The elite guard won't ask questions. They'll just attack." Taiho looked at the stone table, still glowing with ancient wisdom. "We can't leave this. It's too important." "We don't need to take it," Du Yen said calmly. His eyes glowed brighter as he placed his hand on the table. "I can remember it. All of it." The symbols on the table seemed to flow up his arm like glowing water. Minji watched in amazement as they sank into his skin. "That's impossible," Jai Young whispered, but they all knew that word didn't mean much anymore. Suddenly, the chamber's entrance exploded. Through the dust and debris, they saw them. 3 elite guards in gleaming crystal armor. Their bodies shifted and changed like living diamonds. "Step away from the human," one guard commanded, its voice ringing like bells. "He is awakening too fast. He must be contained." Haynul stepped forward, putting herself between the guards and her human friends. "You don't understand. They chose this. All of it. They're not a threat." "Move aside, observer," another guard said. "You have failed in your mission. These humans must be stopped before they remember too much." Du Yun hadn't moved from the stone table. The symbols were still flowing into him, faster now. His whole body glowed with blue light. "You can't stop us from remembering," he said, his voice echoing strangely. "But you should ask yourselves why we chose to forget in the first place." The guards raised their crystal weapons. Energy crackled around them, bending space itself. That's when something amazing happened. Jai Young, who had been quiet and skeptical through everything, stepped forward. Her eyes began to glow just like Du Yan's. "I remember too," she said softly. "We didn't forget because we had to. We forgot because we knew something you don't." The guards hesitated. In all their years of service, they had never seen anything like this. "The universe needs balance," Taiho said, and his eyes started glowing too. "It needs both chaos and order, power and restraint, memory and forgetting." Minji gasped as the knowledge flowed through her as well. "We're not just reality anchors. We're reality's conscience. We remembered just enough to know why we need to forget." The guard's crystal armor began to crack. Haynul's sensors showed impossible readings. Reality itself was changing around them. "Stop this," the lead guard commanded. "You'll destroy everything." "No," Du Yin said, finally stepping away from the table. "We're saving everything, just like we did before." The chamber filled with blinding light. When it faded, the guards stood frozen, their crystal armor showing images of human history, the true history, playing across its surface. "Now you see," Haynul said to her fellow council members, "humans aren't dangerous because they're powerful. They're powerful because they understand danger." But even as she spoke, alarms blared above. More council ships were coming. The elite guard had failed, so they would try something worse. "They're going to try to wipe your memories," Haynul warned. "All of humanity's memories. They think it's the only way to be safe." Du Yan looked at his glowing hands, then at his friends. "They still don't understand. Wiping our memories won't work anymore. Because now we remember the most important thing of all." "What's that?" Minji asked. "That forgetting was our choice, and now staying awake is our choice too." As the sounds of more ships filled the air, the team knew they had to act fast. The council was coming to save the universe from humanity. But they were about to learn that sometimes the best way to save something isn't to control it. It's to let it remember who it really is. The old mountain bunker wasn't much, but it was safe. Taiho's team had been hiding there for 3 days, watching as the council ships filled Earth's skies. Most humans couldn't see them thanks to their cloaking technology, but the awakened ones could. "More people are remembering," Sunwoo said, looking at his computer screen. I'm getting reports from all over the world. It's like a chain reaction. Hanul sat in the corner, trying to repair her systems. The council had tried to shut her down, but something had changed in her. She wasn't just a machine anymore. The council doesn't understand what's happening, she said. They think humans are breaking free from their containment. But that's not it at all. Du Yun nodded. His eyes still glowed, but softer now, like starlight. We're not breaking free. We're waking up exactly as we planned to, thousands of years ago. Jai Young walked in from the bunker's makeshift lab. Since her awakening, she had been studying the changes in human brain patterns. Look at this, she said, showing them her tablet. Our brains aren't just remembering. They're completing a pattern, like a computer program that was meant to run at exactly this time. But why now? Minji asked. She had spent the last few days translating more of the temple symbols from her memory. Why did we set ourselves to wake up at this moment? Suddenly, all the lights in the bunker flickered. Sun Wu's computer showed strange readings. The universe is becoming unstable, Hainul explained. That's why the council is so afraid. Reality itself is starting to shift. They think we're causing it, Taiho said. But we're not. We're trying to stop it. Do Yun stood up and walked to the bunker's small window. Outside, the sky had a strange purple color that only the awakened ones could see. Humans aren't reality anchors because we're strong, he said. We're anchors because we understand something the council never did. The universe doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be balanced. And that's why we chose to forget, Jai Young added, finally understanding. By forgetting our power, we created a natural balance. Some asleep, some awake, most in between. Sun Wu's computer beeped again. More ships entering Earth's atmosphere. They're carrying something. Some kind of energy weapon. Hainul's systems sparked with recognition. The memory eraser. They're going to try to make all humans forget again. But this time, they'll force it. That won't work, Minji said, her voice strong. You can't force someone to forget if they choose to remember. The team gathered around the bunker's main table. On it lay the notes and drawings they had made, trying to understand their own history. We need to show the council the truth, Taiho said. Not just tell them. Show them. How? Jai Young asked. They won't listen. Do Yen smiled, his eyes brightening. We don't need them to listen. We need them to remember too. What do you mean? Hainul asked. The council thinks they're different from us. But they're not. They just forgot their own history, long before we chose to forget ours. The team looked at him in surprise. Even Hainul's systems seemed to pause. Are you saying? She started. Yes, Du Yen nodded. The council were once like us. They were once human too. That's why they're so afraid. Deep down, they know what's coming. Outside, the purple sky grew darker. The council ships moved into position, preparing to force humanity back into forgetting. But in the bunker, something new was beginning. Not just resistance, but remembrance. Because sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't strength or technology. It's the truth that everyone has forgotten. Even those who think they remember everything. The memory eraser hung in Earth's sky like a dark star. Its energy made the air feel heavy and wrong. In the mountain bunker, the team watched as council ships moved into position around it. We have 6 hours before they fire, Hainul said. Her systems could read the weapon's charging cycle. Once it starts, there's no stopping it. Do Yan stood at the bunker's main computer, his glowing hands moving over the keyboard. The ancient temple symbols flowed through his mind, showing him things no human had known for thousands of years. I found it, he said suddenly. The real reason we chose to forget, and why some of us had to remember. Everyone gathered around him. Even Sun Wu left his monitoring station to listen. The universe is like a living thing, Du Yen explained. It needs both change and stability to survive, but too much of either one will kill it. That's why we became anchors, Jai Young said. to provide stability. Yes, but there's more. Du Yan pointed to patterns on the screen that only the awakened ones could see. The universe is reaching a critical point, a moment when it could either evolve or collapse. Minji's eyes widened as she read the ancient patterns. We didn't just choose to forget. We chose when to remember. We timed it for this moment. Because the universe needs both now, Tahoe realized. It needs the sleeping humans to keep reality stable and the awakened ones to guide its evolution. Newell's systems sparked with new understanding. That's why the Council is so afraid. They remember being human, being powerful, but they forgot why they had that power. They forgot that power isn't just about strength, Sun Wu added. It's about understanding when to use it and when to let go. Suddenly, the bunker's lights flickered again. But this time, it wasn't from the Council ships. Something else was happening. Look at the readings, Jai Young said, pointing to Sun Wu's monitors. All around the world, humans are changing. Not just remembering, but understanding. Du Yan nodded. The Council thinks awakening is about gaining power, but it's really about gaining wisdom, understanding why we chose to forget, and why some must remember. But how do we stop the memory eraser? Minji asked. We can't fight the whole Council. We don't fight them, Du Yan said softly. We remind them. He turned to Newell. You're proof that even artificial beings can evolve, can understand. The Council needs to remember that they were once like us, that they chose a different path. Newell's systems hummed with emotion, something she hadn't been programmed for, but had learned from her human friends. They became crystalline beings, she said. They chose to transform themselves into living order, trying to control reality instead of understand it. And that's why they're failing, Tahoe said. The universe doesn't need controllers. It needs balancers. Outside, the purple sky grew darker as the memory eraser charged. But something else was happening too. All around the world, humans were looking up. Most couldn't see the ships, but they could feel something. A remembering. Not of power, but of purpose. It's starting, Du Yan said. His eyes glowed brighter than ever. The real awakening. Not to power, but to understanding. The team looked at each other, knowing what they had to do. They couldn't fight the Council with weapons or force, but they could show them something more powerful. They could show them the truth about what humans really were. Not controllers of reality, but its caretakers. Not masters of power, but guardians of balance. As the memory eraser reached full charge, Du Yan smiled. They think they're going to make us forget again. But instead, we're going to help them remember, Newell finished. Because sometimes the most powerful moment isn't when you gain something. It's when you understand why you gave it up in the first place. The memory eraser turned the sky blood red as it prepared to fire. In the bunker, Du Yan stood with his hands raised, glowing brighter than ever before. The rest of the team formed a circle around him, their eyes shining with the same blue light. Remember, he said softly, we're not fighting them. We're reminding them. Newell's systems surged with energy she didn't know she had. The Council ships are in position. The weapon is at full power. Then it's time, Tahoe said. He looked at his team, the scientist, the skeptic, the archaeologist, the theorist, and the android who had become more than her programming. Are we ready? They nodded. Even Jai Young, who had doubted everything from the start, stood tall and uncertain. Du Yan began to speak in the ancient language of the temple. The symbols that had flowed into him now flowed out, filling the air with living light. Through him, the forgotten history of humanity poured into the world. Above, in their crystal ships, the Council prepared to fire. But something strange was happening. The crystal began to sing, remembering its own history. Look at their ships, Minji gasped. They're changing. The crystal vessels were becoming transparent, showing the truth within. The Council members weren't just crystalline beings. They were humans who had transformed themselves, trying to become perfect and unchanging. They forgot that perfection isn't about being unchanging. Sun Wu said, understanding at last, it's about finding balance in change. Through Du Yan, the team sent their message not in words, but in memory. They showed the council the truth, how humans had been guardians of reality, how some had chosen to forget, while others had chosen to change, and how both paths were part of the same story. The memory eraser's beam shot toward Earth, but when it hit the field of living memory around the planet, something beautiful happened. Instead of erasing, it revealed. Every human on Earth felt it, not as power or knowledge, but as understanding. They didn't remember being gods or reality shapers. They remembered why they had chosen to be human instead. In their ships, the council members watched as their crystal bodies began to resonate with the truth. They had run from their humanity, trying to become perfect. But in doing so, they had lost the very thing that made humans special, the ability to balance between knowing and not knowing, between power and restraint. We remember, the council's voice echoed across the world. We remember what we were, what we all were. Haynul's systems filled with joy as she watched the crystal ships transform. They didn't become human again, but they found something they had lost, the understanding that perfection wasn't about controlling reality. It was about being part of it. The memory eraser dissolved into light, its energy joining the field of understanding that now surrounded Earth. The council ships landed, no longer hiding themselves. What happens now? Jia Young asked, looking at her still glowing hands. Now we do what humans have always done best. Du Yan smiled. We balance. Some of us will stay awakened, remembering and guiding. Others will return to sleep, anchoring reality. And most will walk the path between, sensing but not knowing, understanding but not remembering. And the council? Haynul asked. They'll find their own balance, Taiho said, between what they became and what they were, just like you have. As the sun rose on a new day, humanity continued its ancient work, not as masters of reality, but as its caretakers. The most terrifying thing about humans had never been their power. It had been their wisdom in knowing when to use it, when to hide it, and when to simply be human. In the end, that was the greatest power of all. The power to choose what you become, even if what you become is something that doesn't know its own strength. Because sometimes, not knowing is the wisest choice of all.